Five now.
Okay.
Five.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining on this beautiful uh, presentation and the event that we will be hosting today. And the name itself is Happiness Inspires Productivity and Creativity. Now, the fact is that, being in the world of jewelry, be it domestic, be it exports, be it manufacturing, creativity is a part of our, the core part of our business. Our karigars, artisans, they are creative people. The designers are creative people. Our promoters, the owners of the various business, there has to be creativity in them to ensure that the passion to do this business continues to happen. So now if we really consider today's day and time, the world as it is today, it's such a fast life for all of us. We take all kinds of courses, we read all kinds of books, trying to find that at our workplace or in our lives, how do we get happiness? And as owners or as employees or as representative of the HR department of the various organizations, while we all drive for numbers, while we drive for targets, and we put performances, pressures on our team that yes, this has to be achieved for growth. But parallelly, we all want that the people that are working in our organization needs to be happy, needs to feel good every day in the morning when they wake up, and they need to look forward to come to their workplace. So that's the whole thought process. And on behalf of the Gem and Jewelry Export Promotion Council and the SEZ committee, we have our committee members. A big thanks to Mr. Neville Tata, who's one of the more active members of the committee who has really initiated this thought process of having this program. We have Adil Bhai with us, we have the other members as well, and all the other committee members to allow and support Mr. Raj Naik and Ms. Namrata Tata to come here and present on the concept. And as far as Mr. Raj and Namrata ma'am is concerned, I must say a few words for introducing them. We are very thankful, sir and ma'am, to join on this particular program. Mr. Raj has a 32 years of experience, vastly coming from the media industry. He was one of the founding members during the time that Star Network was formed. Then he went on to form the NDTV network. So CNBC TV 18. So there have been so many media houses that he's worked with. And I feel that the fact that a media and communication is something which is all about communicating with people, building teams, setting up businesses, and doing something new, because at that point of time, media was a very new thing for the country. So with his experience that he's had at the corporate world, now this happiness.com or happiness.me that they are starting, we will look forward to getting their inputs and share their experiences and their ideas. And Namrata ma'am, with your professional experience of almost more than 20 years, again from the media and entertainment industry, again with a rich background from Star and other media houses, this business development and this thought process that you all want to bring about, we on behalf of the gem and jewelry industry are very thankful and proud to have both of you here with us. We look forward to getting your guidance and support and enlightening us with this knowledge. Thank you very much. So I leave the table to Mr. Raj and Namrata.
Yeah, if you can. So first of all, Mr. Sponsor Sen, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Sen, and thank you very much for the very beautiful introduction. And I must thank all of you, all the members of GJEPC for being here today, for taking the time out to listen to us. And you must be wondering somewhere saying, he spent 33 years in the media industry. What is he talking about happiness? Where does this come from? And why has he given up the media industry to set up something in the field of happiness? So before I start, I must tell you a small story here. I spent 3 decades in the media industry in leadership positions in most companies. And one thing I used to tell everybody who worked with me was, the job of the CEO is only one thing. to make sure that everybody who works in the organization wakes up in the morning and has that adrenaline rush to come to work. And I used to joke about it, saying, if I can achieve that, आप लोग सब काम करोगे, मैं credit में लूंगा और थोड़े आपके साथ बांटूंगा. So I used to joke about it. Until about 2.5 years ago, I one morning woke up, and I was the Chief Operating Officer of Viacom and CEO of Colors. And I woke up one morning and I realized that I didn't have that adrenaline rush to go to work. But it can happen, you know, sometimes you have good days and bad days. But when it happened over a period of time, I realized that there was something amiss. And that was the year I lost my mother. Within 6 months, I lost my brother. So, you know, I attributed it to my personal issues. But it went on for another 6 months. And that's when, to cut a long story short, I quit my job. I quit my job because there was nothing wrong with the job. Everything was perfect. Probably I was burnt out, or, you know, you can't put a finger to it. But I knew one thing for sure, I was not happy. It was during the same time, probably I took a break. I traveled around the world. And within 3, 4, 5 months, I think 5 months after that, my friend here, Namrata, she quit a job for a similar reason. And so when we met one evening and started discussing, and that's how this company formed, Happiness.me, because we realized that in the corporate world, nobody really actually gives enough focus to how people are feeling. You know, I saw in Mr. Suvankar's slide a very nice question that he had written there. How are you feeling today? So my question to all of you here, I can't see your faces, but that's okay. How are you feeling?
Top of the world.
Great, top of the world. That's nice. I mean, we want people to feel on top of the world. So I won't take much of your time. I know we have limited time and you've made the time for us. So I'm quickly going to run you through a little presentation to telling you why happiness and what we do so that we can set a context. So we talk about, 1 minute. I can't see anybody now. Just give me a second, guys. I'm just trying to see. Okay, as long as you can see me, right? Because I can't see you.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay.
So why doesn't everybody put their video on so that it becomes a little more interactive rather than an abstract session?
Okay, now I can. Still can't.
Can you see everybody, Raj?
Yeah, 1 minute. Can you see my screen or you can see me?
We can just see you.
Okay, 1 minute. Now I know what's the issue. Just give me a second. One. Yeah. Now you can see me?
No,
we can see the screen.
We can see your screen.
Yeah, now, okay. So this is what with a modern way of creating a happier work culture. We are a global team. We have people all over the world and in India. That's a team that we put together about 2 years ago. But before that, I just want to set the context. When was the last time you remember that somebody in the organization asked you, how are you feeling? You know, this is a question nobody asks one another unless you come out from a hospital bed or you come from sick leave, right? And because as people, we have been hardwired from childhood to suppress our emotions. You know, you were always told, don't cry, you know, without even finding out what the reason was. You know, even if you're a boy, you were said, don't cry like a girl. So our emotions were always suppressed. And that is why what happened over a period of time in organizations, emotions were considered as a baggage. You were always told, leave emotions at home. If you were emotional, you were considered as a soft boss. If you were emotional, itna emotional kyun hota hai? You were told, leave emotions at home. But the fact remains, that you can't leave emotions at home. It's the same head and the same body that you bring to work. Again, just to let you know, 80% of all the decisions that you make in your life, please reflect as I'm talking, 80% of all decisions you make in your life, both personal and professional, are emotional decisions. It is the cognitive brain then ratifies every decision you make. You know, we say personal decisions and what do you say? We say official decision or professional decision. There is no difference between the two. A decision is a decision, whether you make it at home when you're sitting with your wife or spouse or whoever you're sitting with and you make a decision, you call it a personal decision. When you make the same decision sitting in your office room or in the boardroom, you call it an official decision. But it's the same brain and the same body that's making the decision. And the best analogy that I use is a savings account and a current account. Paisa andar jata hai, paisa bahar aata hai. It's only given two names, right? End of the day, it does the same job. Probably the interest rates are slightly different. That's the only difference. So what we do is we basically connect the heart and the brain. That's what we do. Because what we are trying to bring in the corporate culture, a little bit of making emotions central to your culture. And we will tell you why it will help you. Before I continue, I want to ask anybody here one or two questions, and I would request you to please answer. Whoever, anybody can do that. How do you feel when you are happy? Anybody?
Super.
Who's this?
Super excited, super energetic. Ankit
Lodha, Mr. Lodha. Thank you so much. Yeah. And anything more you want to add? Anybody else wants to add?
Yeah, I would love to add this and amazing subject of discussion today. So I feel light. I feel my mind is free to think much better way. I feel energetic, and definitely my body movement, my mind, my thought process, that gets a free flow.
Very nice. Adil Saab, आप कुछ कहना चाहते हैं?
I would say when I'm happy, I would almost feel like dancing.
No, good, but that is the truth, right? You radiate positive energy. There are springs in your steps. You're more energetic.
Yes, and I can get up out of my bed quickly in the morning.
Fantastic.
So that's important to me. From my happiness standpoint, if I sleep for 8 hours and I'm able to get off my bed in the morning, I consider myself lucky.
Fantastic. I think that's the sole purpose of every human being. You know, you take any human being and put them in a room and tell them to write what they want in life. First, they will write BMW or whatever car they want. They aspire for Gar, Gadi, Bangla, BV, Pati, depending on who it is. But end of the day, the ultimate, at the top of the pyramid, what they will write is the word happiness. And this is true and enough research has been done on this anywhere in the world. And you can, even you ask yourself the question, end of the day, what are you working for? What are you doing things for? You'll realize that you will come to the same conclusion. I have another question, since you've been so interactive and I like this interactive session. I have another question for anybody here. Who are the people you are willing to give your life for?
I guess my instant reaction would be for my family, for my son, things like that. That would be the first reaction.
Yeah. No, usually it's the same reaction again. We've done these studies in different parts of the world. We've asked the same question, and people, they say that first it comes family, maybe immediate 1, 2, 3, 4 friends, 5 maximum, maybe a pet if they have a pet at home, you know, that surprisingly comes into the list. It's interesting. So if I ask you, what is that one word you're willing to give their life for them, but what is that one word that connects you with them?
Love.
Yeah. So that's emotion, right? It's an emotional connect. You're emotionally connected with them. I'm just asking you to park these thoughts as I'm speaking, and I will come back to you on that. Finally, if I ask you to sit in a room and introspect, what will happen? You will start thinking, maybe I should have done this way, I could have done this better. You'll think about your past, the future. You'll start reflecting, right? What we call also soul searching, right? That's what happens. So I just wanted to park this for a moment. All these three thoughts. What happens when you're happy? What happens when you're emotionally connected? And what happens when you introspect? Now for a moment, as I'm speaking, even if you don't close your eyes, I won't know because I can't see most of you, but close your eyes for a moment and visualize that if every person in your organization was happy, every person in your organization was emotionally connected, and if every person in your organization got an opportunity to introspect, what do you think will be the organization? I want you to tell me.
It would be like a dream come
Industry
true.
leaders. Industry leaders.
No, it will be like having a party every day.
Yes, exactly. I mean, somebody said dream. I think Neville, you said, huh? What did you say?
It'll feel like a dream come true.
Dream come true, right? And we will make your dreams come true. Don't worry. I'm getting there. Okay. So this is what we discussed before this, because it's the sole purpose of everybody, and you get innovative. One of the things is people get magnanimous when they are happy. I don't know whether whether it's at home or in the office. Before you want something from the boss, you say, boss ka mood kaisa hai? Right? या घर में बोलते हैं बीवी का मूड कैसा है, या बच्चे बोलते हैं पिताजी का मूड कैसा है, उसको नया आईफोन चाहिए या कुछ चाहिए. Before they ask, right? Because what happens is when you're happy, you're magnanimous, you're more giving. That's another thing about happiness, besides being productive and active and creative and things like that. And there is enough science to validate this. 1 minute. Yeah. So there was a research done, and they wanted to, before I show you the slide, they asked people, and before we started getting into this business, one of the people who did the research, we met him in New York City, and he asked me, he said, Raj, what do you think is the primary emotion that energizes a human being? I'm a bit of a romantic guy. तो मैं बोला प्यार का नशा जो है ना वो उतरता ही नहीं है. दारू का नशा, सब नशा उतर जाता है, प्यार का नशा नहीं उतरता है. So I told him it's love. But they did a research, and I'll show you the slide. They did a research and they took all the emotions. Even anger is an emotion, shame is an emotion, fear is an emotion. They took all the emotions, and what they noticed was, when they did this test, the emotion that actually illuminated the whole body, and you can see that here, is happiness. Even I thought it was love. Love is close second probably, but happiness is the topmost emotion. And there are enough studies, whether it's from Harvard, Warwick, Oxford, you name the university globally, enough research agencies, there is enough studies to show what happens when you're happy. One is what we said as individuals, it doesn't need any rocket science, but there are actual studies. They have studied companies to see what happens when people are happy, especially since you mentioned that you're more in the creative business. See the percentage growth that comes when people are happy in the creative. I can't see my own thing. I think it's 300%. Am I right? I mean, can you read it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 300%, right? So I just want to park this thought. It's very important. But this is the most interesting slide. They say, and this is again science for you, 50% of your happiness is genetic, which means if both your parents were unhappy, you have a big problem, because 50% is gone there. But that doesn't happen, right? Because majority of the people, all husband, wives, and I can without even doing any survey tell here on this forum as well, are usually chalk and cheese in most globally, all husband. That's why they say opposites attract, right? So there is some happiness that will always be there because one of the parent will be happy. So there will be some element of happiness in you. 10% is the environment around you. 40% is within you. That is something that you can keep changing, you can keep adding, you can add value to it. Now here, everything that has been done so far in the corporate world, people have focused on these external circumstances and resources. That's when we found an opportunity saying, nobody is focusing on this 40%, thoughts and feelings. And that's when we got into this. And so that's our basic thing. Why happiness? I don't think I need to convince you why happiness. I think you all know it. And you all said what happens to you when you're happy. But what has also happened in the last 2 years, happiness has become the most abused word. You know, whether we like it or not, everybody is mentioning happiness. So I don't like to actually say we are in the business of happiness. I like to say we are in the business of setting context to positively influence human behavior. What do we mean by that? So first of all, how do we do it? Let me tell you. So suppose in your office, you can walk around the 10, 15 people, you can walk around and say, Ankit, you're not looking, you're not looking too good, everything good at home. You can ask somebody, sab theek thaak hai. But how do you measure emotions at scale? How do you measure when you have 1,000 employees, 2,000 employees, 10,000 employees, or 100,000 employees, right? So what we've done is we've built a framework first, and I'll take you to the framework. But we've used technology. We have built an AI ML based neuroanalytical platform, and we can, if the time permits, we can even take you to a demo of that. So we've done that. Yeah, we've done that. And I'll tell you what is unique to us compared to anybody else. First of all, I don't think anybody is in this space, at least in this country that I know of. We don't speak about just happiness. We speak about sustained happiness. Because you can be very happy right now, and 1 hour later, you could get a phone call and chances are you're not happy, right? So people have a very wrong conception about happiness as well. Misconception about happiness. They feel that if you're happy, means that you can't be angry, you can't be upset, you can't react. That's not true, because it's not like some bunny that you eat and it'll start dancing all through the day. That's not what it is. Happiness is about maintaining sustained happiness over a period of time. So that is one thing. The second thing is our entire framework is based on introspection and not interrogation. On those 3 tenets that I showed you in the beginning: happiness, emotions, and interrogation. Third thing is we believe that happiness is within you. None of us can come and make you people happy unless you want to be happy. Koi jadoo ki chadi to hai nahi ki, we can do it like this and people will be happy. Every individual has to choose to be happy because happiness is within them. It's like taking a horse to the river. You can walk with the horse to the river, but if the horse decides not to drink water, there's nothing you can do about it. So it's also a shared responsibility. And when I say shared responsibility, it's not just the HR head and the owner of the company who takes ownership for everybody's happiness. And the analogy that I use is like for a parent-child relationship. I can send my daughter to Columbia University, get her an apartment in New York City, but at the end of the day, she has to also study. She has to step up. So in an organization, while the ownership of the organization or the management of the organization can do certain things, the employees also have to step up. And that's our framework is built on that. It's shared responsibility. And when we say setting context to positively influence human behavior, what we're also doing is every person, every individual will get a report telling them where he or she stands in the context of the organization. So what happens is when they get a report which tells them where they stand in context to the organization, they will have enough things for them to see where they also need to improve. And Namrata will take you through it as we go along. It's not just giving them the report. We will tell you how we get them to also change, adapt their own behavior so that they are in sync with the organization goals and visions and things like that. The whole framework, we are the only people where our framework is underpinned by neuroscience. We are the first people globally. The other thing which we do is seeding happiness. So once we do all the assessment, we get all the report, we also come and help you in seeding happiness. This problem is there, we will help you solve that problem. We will create happiness workshops for you, whatever needs to be done for your team in any location in the country. Finally, we certify you as the happiest places to work. And that is, of course, based on whether your people are really happy and what the outcome of the score. Yeah, so that's it. So Namrata, you want to take from here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Raj. So basically, essentially, if we look around, we have stepped into a new business era. And this is not happened just because of the pandemic. I think the pandemic just, pronounced it more and, fast-tracked a lot of things. But if you look around in any organization, you have 4 generations of different people working, right? So you have the baby boomers who are born in the 1960s, you have people who are born in the 1970s, the Gen Z, Gen X, millennials. Now, each of these different generations, even if they are about a decade apart, their worldview is very different, their needs are very different. What they essentially, are looking for in their personal and professional lives are very different. So I think one of the larger tasks in an organization where collaboration is concerned, where conflict management is concerned, where teamwork is concerned, also comes from the space of how do you bridge the divide between these generations, right? How do you make people who think differently, how do we unify them? And Raj, could you please, you've changed the slide, Raj?
Oh, sorry, my
No problem. I know I'm quick, but I can't talk that much.
No, my apologies.
So essentially, if you had to look at what is the one thing that unifies people from different generations, from different thought processes, I think it's happiness. Happiness is one of the largest unifiers. But again, like Raj was saying, the thing about happiness is that while it is a unifier, each one of us, how we define happiness is as different as our fingerprint, right? It's as individual as our fingerprint. So if there was a particular generation that looked at clarity in their job, looked at alignment of meaning and purpose, they looked at what are the growth opportunities, what are the opportunities, am I being given facilities to succeed? Now with the newer generations coming in, the needs have got a little more differentiated. So the newer generations are more greedy. They say we want clarity, we want alignment in meaning and purpose, we want opportunities to grow, we want to succeed. But guess what? We want more. Dil mange more, right? We want psychological safety. Emotional safety, money compensation is hygiene. You have to give me a salary, you have to give me my bonus, you have to give me my overtime. But are you taking care of my emotional needs? Do I enjoy positive relationships in the organization? Are you giving me the opportunity to do different things in the organization and not just one thing? And the largest thing which is coming out as a very important need that employees are looking for today is the feeling of acknowledgement and validation. And I think social media has had a very big role to play over there. So we put one post on Facebook or on Instagram and we go back 50 times to see how many people have liked it. I also curse the people who don't like it. So this whole need that we have of immediate validation, immediate gratification, immediately being acknowledged is something that we carry from our personal lives into our professional lives, where we want constant validation and acknowledgement from our bosses, from our peers. So essentially, what has really happened in this new world of work is certain needs, certain emotional needs have got more pronounced. And I think the 2 years of lockdown that we had, where we did not have the opportunity to create new memories, but we were just sitting and reliving our old memories, gave us a lot of time to introspect and maybe, prioritize what is really important for us. And positive relationships and psychological safety is playing a very important role in that new world. Raj, could you kindly go to the next?
Yeah.
So this is what our framework is, and taking forward from what Raj was talking about neuroscience. So what essentially is neuroscience? Neuroscience is the study of how people think and feel and hence behave, right? Neuroscience initially was only being used, for medical practitioners were using it. But in the last decade, you're seeing it moving into different verticals, different industries. Neuroscience is becoming extremely important from understanding a consumer behavior method, consumer behavior also. So there are many industries that try to use neuroscience to understand what is it that their customers will like, what are the new trends, what is it that they are essentially leaning to. And what we believe is that if there is a science that is a proven science that can help you understand human behavior better, it definitely needs to be applied at an organization level also. Wouldn't you want to know exactly how your employee is thinking and feeling rather than what he is just saying? And hence what we have done is all the different things all the different assessments that we do and the different drivers that we assess, we ensure that everything has been underpinned by neuroscience and we're using the principles of neuroscience. If you look at what are the kind of questions that we're essentially asking, again, taking forward from what Raj spoke about in terms of shared responsibility, not only are we checking what is it that we are doing for our employees, but what is it that their employees are doing for themselves, for their personal resources. Like it's like a greenhouse. You can give sunshine and water, but if the plant is dead, it won't grow. So what we are trying to assess is, do your employees have gratitude for what they're getting? Are your employees resilient and do they have courage? What is it that your employees are doing from a personal perspective for the personal resources, their well-being is concerned? And when all these things come together, that's when the organization can provide progress, the organization can provide inclusion and trust. But it's always hand in hand, two people have to do it together. Another very interesting thing about our line of questioning is we do not get into blame game. We are not interrogating. So this questionnaire is not like the US visa form. Have you been part of any terrorist activities? Those are not the kind of questions we ask because those are rhetoric questions, right? What we do is we ask introspective questions to actually seed the thought in people that they need to look at things from different perspectives, right? Also coming from the fact that today you don't drown because you have fallen into water. You drown because of your inability to swim. So this is something very clearly we want the message to go out to employees that, it is your inability to handle situations which is making you unhappy, and it is not just the blame that needs to go to the management. So through our research, what we have done is we've arrived at 10 different drivers that drive happiness in your organization. And that is essentially what we assess through our framework. Raj, could you move to the next slide? Sorry if I'm getting a little technical. Any questions so far? I can continue.
Yeah, we'll take it at the end.
Sure. Thank you. So when we talk about sustained happiness is not nirvana. It is not joy and high moments of joy and elation. But sustained happiness comes when employees are happy, which gives them the positive energy. But this happiness means nothing if there is no involvement. And this is what this entire slide talks about. So it's like a car, right? Happiness is the fuel, but GPS is which is what tells you, do you need to move left? Do you need to move right? So if you look at this, at this graph, and you look at the quadrant which talks about competing, the employees who actually sit there are employees who have a lot of purpose and direction. They're very involved in the business, but they're very unhappy. So what happens with these people is, because they're so unhappy, They work in isolation. They don't get along with anyone. They are constantly in conflict with people. They are extremely toxic. They burn out and then they fall off the curve. On the other end, if you see unfocused, these are employees who are very happy. They love the office. They love the office canteen. They have a lot of friends. There's a lot of fun, but they only work enough to scrape through the day. And post lunch, keep looking at the watch ki 6 kab bajne wala hai, right? So even what you end up over there with is a lot of unrealized potential. So when you're talking about a flourishing culture, a growth culture, a high productivity culture, a high innovative culture, high creativity culture, the people who actually sit over there are people who have the basic resource of happiness, which gives them energy, which gives them creativity, but they also have involvement, which is purpose and direction. And that is what our target is. So through our assessment, we not only give you a happiness quotient, but we also tell you how happy your people are versus how involved they are. Raj, could you kindly move to the next one? Our assessment is not a boring Google form or any other form, but what we have done is that we have gamified it. What we are giving is we are dealing you a pack of cards. Each card has a question. It's very simple to understand. The beauty is that it's across different languages. It's sliding scale, so you just have to put a score over there. Another thing that we have tried to differentiate in terms of the user experience is most assessments, when you're assessing employees, they're very thematic. So everything around compensation together, everything around this. First of all, we don't go into areas like compensation because we believe that people work for respect, recognition, and reward, and it is in that order, right? So we do not give that much importance to compensation where happiness and fulfillment is concerned. So what we do is that we put things as randomized sequence, so that people get different questions about different parts of their life rather than all put together, so that they do not just mentally answer everything in a similar manner. So what we've done is that we've spent almost 2 years in developing the UX. Once all these questions are answered, all the data gets converted into a platform which gives you access to real-time data. So what we've essentially done is we've taken something as intangible as emotions, then taken something as scientific as neuroscience, and combined it with technology to give you an AI and ML-based neuroanalytical platform, which Raj was essentially talking about. Raj, could you go to the next one? And like I said, the assessment is available in 10 Indian languages. When we had started our journey and we said that let's make it multilingual, we thought it will just be a feel good कि बोलने में और सोचने में और देखने में अच्छा लगेगा कि 10 languages है. But we were surprised. The last few assessments that we have done, in fact, we just closed a very large assessment with a very prominent news network. Almost 25% of the employees took the assessment in different languages. Because the reality is, while we can talk many languages, we think in the language that we are closest to. And that has really, it has really helped us to have it in different languages. And of course, the assessment can be taken on multiple devices. You don't need a laptop or you don't need a desktop. It is a simple URL that is sent, which you click on and you can take the assessment.
Namrata, would you like them to quickly see the demo?
Yeah, sure. Trista, could I request you to do a very quick demo at a very macro?
Because that will give a better perspective.
Yeah.
Yes, sure, of course.
Raj, could you kindly stop sharing, please?
Yeah, great. No, I couldn't see all the faces earlier. Now suddenly I got to see so many faces.
Yes, that's the biggest.
I must confess, I'm very bad at doing any kind of a meeting on Zoom. It's very difficult to relate when you can't see faces and you don't feel the energy.
Rashmi, we would love to do this in person someday.
We will do a happiness workshop for them. Just
yes,
gratis, we will do one.
Yes, I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, great. So this is actually our happiness and involvement dashboard. So this is what you would be having access to on your end, and you can really see how granular you can go in with the data and everything that you have access to on your fingertips. So over here on the left side, we have our happiness score as well as an involvement score. And together we average this out to give you your happiness quotient. And if it is up to a certain standard, then we also qualify for our happiest places to work certification. Here on our right, we have our 4 neuroscience brain types. Like they mentioned, everything that we do is underpinned by neuroscience. So you can see the 4 neuroscience brain types. You're given the score for it as well. This is really helpful in understanding how diverse your organization is in terms of neuroscience, as well as how to actually communicate with them. If your organization is rational, then if you communicate in a very emotional way, it's going to seem like fluff to them. And obviously the same works for vice versa. If they're very emotional and you come off in a very rational tone, they'll think you're being cold, even though that's not the intention at all. This is really helpful in that case. Shall I go into the cultural assessment?
Yes. Sorry, I would just like to interject for a minute. Just to set some context as to what we are essentially showing you. Today, if you have a medical issue, you go and take an X-ray, right? And then you figure out whether you need a cast or you need surgery. Similarly, what our entire program entails is it's broken into a discovery part, where we use this assessment to understand your people better, to understand what are the issues that they are having. And then we move into giving your prescription that these are the things that we need to collectively do with you to improve it. And then the third part comes in deployment, where you can either choose to walk the entire journey with us, or if there's someone else you would like to walk the journey with. So right now, what we are showing you is just the discovery. It's just the X-ray. And how granular we can go with understanding how the people, how different people in different departments under different job levels are essentially working. So to start, if you could move on to the cultural assessment, we don't need to really spend too much time on location but across the different filters. Thank you.
I would also like to give a warning that this is just my laptop that's a little slow, so please forgive me for the technical difficulties that may occur.
Krista, it's not your laptop, it's your Delhi Wi-Fi, which is much slower than our Bombay Wi-Fi.
So here is while it's loading, I'll just talk a little bit as well. So this would be the dashboard that you would have access to. You're given a summary page where you have given your average score, you're given monthly averages, so you can actually track needle movement and trends when you deploy the assessment multiple times. You're also given a score distribution to understand how polarized your responses may be. And then
sorry, it's not loaded as yet.
I'll just refresh it.
If you could please refresh it.
Yes, I think now. Yes, so you're given your average score, you're given your monthly averages, your score distribution, and we also do an entire survey breakdown of each and every question. As you can see, each and every question is linked to a driver, it's linked to a neuroscience brain type, it's linked to happiness or involvement. There's a lot of research that's gone into these questions, and every question serves a very important purpose. And then we also have a word cloud that's generated right at the end. So the bigger the word, the more number of times it's been used, and you can actually access each and every individual comment that comes. And the great part about this entire assessment is, if you see here on your left, everything is anonymous. You would be given just a voter ID, and this really gives people the safe space they need to share their heart out. And we've been able to see that in the type of comments we've gotten, with people writing up to 30 words, where clearly they have an appetite to share and are so glad they've been given the space to actually do it. Then moving on, we have a response analysis tab, a very basic tab. It just shows you how representative the data you're looking at truly is. We have our happiness and involvement tab, where we essentially just do a question breakdown as per happiness and involvement, and you're given your happiness score and your involvement score as well. We have it also broken down as per neuroscience. So we really give you the opportunity to view the data as per the lens that you would like to view it from. Once again, just my lap. Yes. So your neuroscience brain types, as well as this question breakdown as per each of the brain types. And then we have highs and lows, a very simple but very important tab, instantly showing you where you're scoring highest and where you're scoring lowest, as well as what are those factors that's contributing to those high scores and low scores. Really helpful in understanding what it is that you have to prioritize, what is most important. Currently looking here at this dummy data, we can see diversity in organization is the lowest. So while there are other scores that would like to be improved as well, everything must be taken in phases and it's step by step. So now you know what needs to be done in phase 1 and phase 2 accordingly. And now when I'll show you filter comparison, this is really helpful in understanding how granular you can go with your data. So what we do is we have an exploratory call with you and we find out how your organization is structured and what are the various filter cuts that we can actually create. Because the entire assessment is anonymous, that doesn't mean we just get a load of information, but we try to break it up into cohorts to actually make sense of it and do cohort strategy. So here we have a basic set of 6 cohorts that we use. There is tenure, there is location, there is department, there is job level, there is generation and gender as well. So over here, we can actually take learnings from within the organization itself and see that how to cater to the different needs of different cohorts. For example, if you're looking at location, if you're looking at Delhi and we're looking at Berlin or Paris, we can see that the scores have a huge difference. So what is Delhi office doing differently? Maybe the needs of Delhi office are very different from Berlin and a one-size-fits-all strategy just simply does not work. And what is it that we can do to help improve Berlin and Paris' score? And we will be able to see what exactly is bringing it down, what particular driver, what particular neuroscience area, all of that detail is accessed to you on your fingertips. We have our heat map, which is a great visual representation tool of all the data we've been looking at so far. Very helpful in not being bogged down by numbers, where instantly you're able to see what your problem areas are and where it is that you have to focus. We have our open-ended questions, which is just a summary of all the questions that we have received so far. And then we have our sentiment analysis. We have our sentiment analysis. Here you're given the average sentiment, which shows, which we break it down into positive, negative, and neutral as well over here. You're also given the average magnitude, which actually shows you the strength of the emotion behind it. I'm so sorry, if you could just give me 1 second. Yes, so sorry. I would like to apologize for that. So here back to our sentiment analysis. We have given our average sentiment, average magnitude. We break it up into positive, negative, and neutral. And then we also create a positive word cloud and a negative word cloud. And here we also break it down into exactly what are those positively spoken about words as well as those negatively spoken about words. And lastly, but most importantly, we have our key driver analysis. So what this is really helpful in understanding is what is driving the happiness for your organization specifically. So what we do is we run a correlation analysis. So it goes on a scale of -1 to 1. And here we can see what is driving your organization's happiness and what is important to your people's happiness. So to what degree do they enjoy working with people in the organization has a very high positive correlation of 0.71, which means clearly it's something that's very much driving your people's organization's happiness. But if we see, for example, how flexible it is, has a score of 0. So clearly that's something that's not impacting their happiness that much. So now you realize what are those areas that you should prioritize, what is really going to make a massive impact on their happiness as well. This was our cultural assessment. And this is what we recommend is conducted maybe every 6 months. But while this can only be conducted every 6 months, we have a great online 24/7 listening tool, which is called Employee Voice.
Krista, we can avoid, I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is just to give them a representation of the platform. Yeah.
Thank you, Trista.
Yes. I'll stop.
So basically, just taking forward from what Trista was saying, if the entire cultural assessment just seems a lot right now, what we do is one of the most basic tools that we use to create employee listening and start a conversation with the employees is called Employee Voice. It's like the weather report. It won't stop the rain, but it will tell you to carry an umbrella. So it's a very simple URL that you socialize within your entire organization. Any employee at any given point of time anonymously can give you feedback about what they are thinking and feeling. It's a very simple question that we asked is, how are you feeling today? Would you like to tell us why? And it's as simple as that. But what it essentially does is it gives you an opportunity to, to understand what it is that is really troubling people. And from the experience that we've seen across different companies, sometimes it's the smallest thing which causes unhappiness. It's happiness is not in the larger, grander gestures, but in the smaller things that really pinch employees, which make them eventually leave. So with that, I think we've concluded. Raj, there's anything that you would like to add before we move into question answer?
No, I mean, if you have any questions on happiness, you can ask me. I think when you make it more interactive, otherwise it becomes one-sided sermon and things like that. And doing it on Zoom is a challenge. That doesn't make me happy. I can tell you that much.
Yes, monologues don't make us happy.
It's the new norm, Raj.
I know, we are getting used to it. I
Get
guess.
used to it.
Yes.
So I had a question, if I may ask. This whole process that you collect data with once we engage you, how long does it take to give some substantial data to the management?
So the whole process from the time that we engage with you to the time we get our first report, because it's completely detailed. Whilst from an employee perspective, they only need to spend about 15 or 20 minutes. They don't need to spend more than that. But there's a whole process that happens before that in terms of socializing, managing expectations, things like that, because the idea is not to create dissonance, right? We want to come in and create a more happier workplace than you already are, right? So the whole process will take anywhere around 2 months to about 8 to 10 weeks.
Having said that, as and when people start filling in, the platform is real time. Yeah. So the minute we send out the assessment and the assessment goes live, the management gets access to the dashboard. And every time somebody is filling in, you can see the data wheel changing. You will see your happiness quotient constantly changing. And like Raj was saying, that there is an entire process that we follow, because it's very important to get a buy-in from everybody as to why we are doing this. So there's an entire socialization campaign that we do, but it is but everything is created by us. So we will create an entire socialization campaign and we'd like to then follow it up with a town hall where you address all the people and you explain to them the need for doing this and how it will help them. It's very important for people to understand what's in it for them and why they should be giving us their precious 15 minutes of their time. Post that, while the platform will give you a lot of management reports, we will take all that data and manually mine the data, make meaning out of it, and give you an insight report. So that entire process, completion takes about 2 months.
Yeah, and another thing, Neville, is whilst we physically mine the data, come and give you the insight reports, we will also there give you actionable insights, and then we work with the team to say, okay, these are the things that need to be addressed, and we address that. Same time, if you get a rating of, I think it's 7+, then automatically you also get eligible to be qualified for happiest places to work.
Yeah,
that has its own benefits, right? In terms of employee retention, in terms of market value, in terms of all your stakeholders across the globe, right? So that's a separate thing that happens.
So essentially, you get certified as one of the happiest places to work, which works not only from an employer branding perspective, but also from a
corporate image and media publicity and everything that comes along with it.
Because you can actually then sign off as XYZ company, one of the happiest places to work in jewelry.
So a good score would be 7+ to
That's
consider
right.
your organization.
Yeah, that's the benchmark.
If anybody else has any questions?
I can see Sujata, I can see Ramakrishnan, I can see Deepika. Now I can see a lot of people there, right?
And there are some questions in the chat box.
Rushang Shah.
Yeah.
Please ask questions. We'll be happy to answer. Doesn't have to be about happiness.me. You can speak on happiness as well.
I wanted to ask, as you mentioned that the first report will take 2 months to come. So now, like, how many reports do we get when the survey gets over?
So what happens is the dashboard, the moment it goes live, we will keep getting reports. When I say in 2 months, we will physically mine the data and come to your board or to your leadership team and present the whole thing. And at the same time, once we present the report to the management, then we send a link to every employee. They can, the way it happens is when the assessment is over, they get an OTP number. So they have to save that OTP number. So at the end of the assessment, they get a link which takes them to our website, to a particular page. They log in their OTP number there. They get their individual report. And not just that, we go one step ahead, right? Once they get their individual report, they have access to our Knowledge Hub, which will have podcasts, which will have videos, which will have curated articles, which they can then go to enhance their own behavior in whatever places they feel that they need to improve.
So, Raj, I have a question here. Sorry.
Yes.
Can I?
Yes, Adil Sahab.
Let's say you assess us, okay?
Yes.
And we get a 5,
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
So then one is assessment, one is what steps would you tell us to go through to go from 5 to 7, 8, whatever?
That's right.
So is there a process whereby
Yes, there is a process.
you guide us through a corrective situation to take us to that level?
Yeah, so that is what happens. Suppose you get a 5, then what happens is we will come and present the report and we'll tell you what are the reasons why you are 5, what are the things you need to do to reach 7, 8, 9, because ultimately you want to keep going higher year on year, right? Okay. Well, and then we will tell you these are the 5 things you need to do. So what I call is seeding happiness. So then you can tell me, "Arey yaar, main kisko dhundunga, aap hi kar lo mere liye," right? Why don't you do it for us? So we have a team of experts who will work on that, address it, so that next time when we do the assessment, we'll see how the needle has moved. Because the intent is to move the needle from 5 to 7 to 8 to 9, whatever number maximum.
Okay, so that's a very important, informative part. Which,
yeah. So I tell people we just don't measure happiness, we also seed happiness. And so what we are doing right now is we are creating a happiness suite where we are, as I'm talking to you, we are signing on experts in different fields because some fields are very complicated, which we can't address. So in like anger management is something I don't know how to manage that. So we have experts in certain areas who are specialized in certain things who will be available to implement those things that needs to be addressed.
Raj, I have one question. You have, when you say you want to assess, is it going to be online? Do you have any other ways also? Because the kind of organization we are in and the kind of set of people we have, they are not all, everybody is online savvy. People,
but they all have mobile phones, right?
Yeah, even though people have mobile, but the moment you say any assessments or any online survey, people try not to attempt that one.
But how many people would you say, Ramakrishna, right?
Yes, Ramakrishna.
How many people?
I would say even it could be 50% also.
No, but numbers.
In numbers, if I see, if I have a crowd of around 1,200 to 1,500 people, you may expect around 750 people may not do on online assess survey or
we can also do pen and paper. We have the facility for pen and paper. We have done it in a tea estate in Sri Lanka where we had a similar thing. We did that there because first we tried it with iPads and there were some people adapted to it, but others didn't. Then we did it with pen and paper. But the only problem with that, and I want to be realistic with you, for us to then mine the data and come back with the report, it takes a little extra time because that much more work will go from our side because it has to be physically done. But it is possible.
So I think what we could do is...
please continue.
So I think what we could do is, I was also anticipating the same situation that half of them may not be very willing. Some people like to put a pen and paper, think through it carefully, and then put the tick mark, etc. So we could do that pen and paper and have our people in the personnel department then upload that into your format, whatever, and give it to you. But so there it will have to be a little bit of a hybrid situation.
We can work around that. That's not an issue.
Yeah.
So there's a question in the chat box around 70% of the employees being blue collared, and how do you essentially engage with them where sustained happiness is concerned? And I think taking from that, what we really started with is that at a human level, everyone has a brain and everyone has a heart, and whether it's blue collared, white collared, or brown collared employees, there are certain similarities which are there. And we have worked on some strategies where you can add a lot of non-monetary benefits and perks, even to engage with blue-collar employees. It could be in the space of improved work safety. It could be in the space of creating a recognition program for employee achievements, right? So while right now it does sound very utopian, and can it actually be executed, but the fact is that if we really creatively think, there are a lot of non-monetary benefits and perks that you can work around to make even blue-collared employees connect and engage with you better. I hope I have answered the question. I couldn't get the name of the person who asked that question.
So Raj, how do we communicate to our workers? So let's say in my typical factory, 85% are workers, 15% are employees who will understand what this is, but they all will need some kind of a I don't know what's the right word to make them understand what is this exercise that we are trying to do.
So once we know exactly percentage of people and what language and things like that, then what we will do is we will have to do it physically. In a blue collar thing, it's very difficult. I doubt if they will have a challenge even on Zoom, but that can be managed, because I presume they're all coming to work, right?
They all come to work.
Yeah.
So we have to explain to them in groups of 30, 40 people.
Yeah.
What is this exercise that we are doing?
We can do a small 45-minute lecture without any slides, without any of this presentation and things like that, because it's too technical and can go over there.
Yes.
They may not relate to it. They may get bored. But in a layman's language, we can actually come and do a 45-minute chat where we can do a 15-minute of activity also, where they feel elated, where they feel good, and tell them that this is how you will benefit. These are the things that will come out of it, how it benefits you and how it benefits the organization. Because what are we basically doing, right? We are telling them, see, this is not going to change your life overnight. But what it does, it gives the management an understanding of what issues are there, and for them to prioritize what is urgent and what is important. It is like you can't stop the rain from coming, but at least if we know that it's going to rain, we can carry an umbrella. Over a period of time, small changes will happen, and hopefully you will become a happier. Because at the end of the day, they also want peace of mind. They also want happiness. And let me give you an example. One of the companies we worked with in Bombay, a big group actually, a small company of a big group. And we did this assessment, and guess what was the biggest challenge that they had? Biggest challenge. You will be surprised. And this was one of our first clients. Parking problem. So the CEO of the company actually told me, Raj, we didn't have to go through this whole exercise for you to tell us that we have a parking problem. We all know it, right? But I said, what you didn't know was that it was a biggest problem that you have. So he said, okay, now that you told me that it's my biggest problem, do you have a solution? Suddenly I realized, it was a tough situation. So my first reaction was, why can't you get a few valleys and park it nearby ground? He said, 7 kilometers from here, there is not a single empty ground. Abhi bolo. I actually at that time said, we will come back to you, because I couldn't think of anything. And I told Namrata, this is it. This is the first and last time we are dealing with this client, because, such a simple problem, we never thought of these things, right? But we came back to the office and we actually sat down, ideated, saying, how do you address a situation like this? So we went back to the company. They have signed on for 5 years now with us. That's a good thing. thanks to we solving their parking problem with no space. We went back to the company, Adil Saab, and we asked the CEO, do you have any parking spaces at all? He said, yes, we have 14 reserved parking space for our leadership team. So we said, they're all well paid. He said, yes. They all have drivers. He said, yes. I said, do one thing. Say no parking. No, say no reserved parking. Koi bhi aake park kar sakta hai. You will be surprised. All the employees started saying, "Arey yaar, unke paas khud ke paas parking nahi hai. Humko kahan se denge?" Earlier, what was happening was they keep telling us there's no parking space, but they have parking space. But just by democratizing it, suddenly the issue was no longer a big problem. So some of the suggestions we come and give is not to spend more money, of finding smaller tweaks. You know, majority of the time what we've realized, especially now working with companies, people come and tell you, you know, happiness means put bean bags, change the color of your coffees and spend more money and things like that. It is small things, that small tweaks, you know, like you give somebody a bonus, they'll feel very happy. After 1 month, they've forgotten about it. It's an entitlement. Next year, they will say, piछले साल 10 मिला था, इस बार 9 मिला है, they'll start calculating, right? Or you take them for an offsite, they'll say, पिछले बार ले गए थे Melbourne, इस बार Phuket ले गए. But if you just put a hand on their shoulder and say, you've done a great job, that has got 10 times more value. You know, because everybody wants to be validated, whether it's your spouse, it's your children and things like that. And recognition. If you recognize somebody in a public forum and say, hey, this guy's done a great job, that has more meaning and more value. So some of the things when we come and also give you suggestions, we will give you suggestions where if it's a serious issue, then we'll have to do interventions and things like that. But some of the tweaks that we'll give you is where you will find that small things and you'll see the difference. I'll give you another example. We, like Namrata mentioned, we work with a large broadcasting network, and hopefully you will hear that in the news in January, because that's when their report and all gets released. So they had a unique problem. What we found out was, of many things that were there, I'm just giving one example. Their Patna office and Bombay office was the most unhappy office. Okay, and there were some 220 people in Bombay, and Patna was a very small office. So we gave a small suggestion to a CEO. He said, "यार, जो भी मैं करता हूँ ना, uniformly करता हूँ. Actually, हम differentiate नहीं करते हैं. सब कुछ ठीक है. मुझे पता नहीं है क्यों आ रहा है ऐसे." I said, "But you don't sit in Bombay. So why don't you do one thing? Every time you come to Bombay, can you spend 1 hour?" He said, I said, "How many times do you come to Bombay in a month?" He said, "Once, twice a month at least I come." I said, "Can you spend 1 hour?" And that 1 hour, I said, when you go to the office, go with the specific intent of not discussing target kya hua, revenue kya hua, ye kya hua. Call people in the batches of 20 and not leaders alone. Just call a random selection, 20 people, call them and say, tomorrow you all bring your dabbas. I will bring my dabba and we'll have lunch together. So you don't even buy them lunch. Let them bring their own dabba. Just sit with them and talk to them about their family, their life, general. Don't speak about anything else, nothing to do with work. And I said, then you just go back. I said, you see the change every time you come to the office. These are small things, you know, because end of the day, many times, and I can say this with my corporate life, when I was at Viacom, I had an open door policy. Anybody can come and talk to me. Because some of the time, and this I learned from my wife, I used to, when I was at Star TV, I used to travel 25 days a month. So when I used to come back, she used to tell me, you know, this problem, that problem. I used to find solutions. We'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. And she would say, stop. I don't want solutions. I just want you to listen to me. So sometimes people just want to vent out. You know, एक बार क्या बोलते निकाल दिया, हाँ? भड़ास निकाल दिया. So then they feel lighter. So some of the things, and that's what our employee voice does, right? They can just go and vent and it goes out of the system. So these are the small things that we do. And it's very easy for us in a physical thing to explain it to your team, talk to them, and wherever we need to do pen and paper, we can do that.
Raj, I have one question, the last. Before See, you said that once you attain a certain percent, 0.7 above, you're going to be certified as the happiest place to work.
Yeah.
Obviously, we may use it as our employer branding internally. But
Yeah.
how you are going to add value?
Okay, I'll tell you. So what we will do, that's a very good question, very good question. So what we do is we plan the whole strategy for you. We also help you do all the creatives for your visiting card, letterhead, everything. We'll help you do that. We will draft a press release jointly with you. We will because we are from the media, so we have our connections. We will get it published in X number of newspapers, whatever it is. We will make sure that it goes out, the press release goes out. We will also then shoot the chief CEO of the company or the HR head of the company, mainly the CEO and the HR head, both people will, and we will socialize it through our LinkedIn, our Twitter, Facebook, all kinds of media. Wherever we can socialize it, we'll socialize it. But what happens is, for you, when you're speaking to people tomorrow, when you're sending a mail, at the bottom, it will be their happiest places to work. We will, we've created, we can show you the collaterals that we've created, which is like for everything. Then it's up to you. We give you all the designs, right? So if you want to make coffee mug, you want to make t-shirts, you want to make a door handle, all those things is up to you. But we give you all the designs that needs to go. You don't need to do anything. With your logo and everything, we create it and give it to you.
Okay. And what is the frequency of survey you will be doing to ensure that the happiness?
See, the way we recommend is, if you get 7+, then you should do it once a year.
Okay.
If you don't get a 7, then you may want to reach a 7 faster to get that score. So you may want to do those tweaks and then again assess it 6-7 months. When you feel that we have made those changes, now we can try it out again.
Is this exercise to be done with 100% of the employees, or we can say random 50% of the employees?
We normally recommend 100%. Okay. That's what we recommend. We had a large bank who's speaking to us. They've got some 60,000 employees, and they said, we want to start with one division of our bank, right? So we are not averse to it. We haven't thought to it. But if it's a small organization, if you really want true representation of your organization, then at least you need a 70-75% representation. Otherwise, it may not be a true reflection of the situation.
Right.
Anybody else? Sujata, Deepika?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we speak about the questions that we have, the different questions under different headers that we have, plus we also have certain dynamics and the demographics that we are presenting, like, job levels, department, gender, tenure, and those kind of things. So I wanted to understand, are those customizable, or, only those rigid? We have those only certain set of questions or certain demographics only, or can we customize it as per our needs as well?
So the answer is this: we've spent 2.5 years working with professors, psychologists, and things to get this framework. So the basic structure cannot change.
She's asking about the filter groups. The filter groups can change. The
filter groups can change. Filter groups can change.
Yeah.
The questions can't change. But however, we can add 1 or 2 questions if you want.
Okay.
Sujata, you are essentially asking about the job level, tenure, all of that.
That can be. That we can go as many filters as you want.
Okay.
Yeah. So the process we follow is depending upon how your organization is structured. If you say that job level doesn't make sense for me, but designation makes sense for me, we can add filters for, we worked with multiple really large matrixed organizations also, where we've created multiple filters. We can go up to 8 to 10 filters. It depends upon how you want to see the data. But like Raj was saying, the additional information is we cannot really change the questions. We can add a question for you, but the filters and the data cuts that you need, it can be customized to your organization completely.
Okay. I can see Vinod More Saab here also.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah.
Any questions?
Hi guys. Hi Raj. Hi Namrata. Finally, I get to hear what you guys do. So, just taking off from the last question now, any previous experiences with large manufacturing units like ours? Anything that you would like to share was a challenge, if at all we were considering as a manufacturing where predominantly the employee base is manufacturing?
Yeah, so we worked with a company in Bangalore. They do
pharmaceutical.
No, I'm talking manufacturing. I'm talking about this vacuum company that we work with. They do all kinds of things. They've got 3-4 divisions, and but we didn't have the challenge of we didn't have the challenge of pen and paper there. But otherwise, they wanted to add 1 or 2 specific questions which got added. But other than that, there wasn't. The only challenge was they had 3 group companies, and they felt that all 3 group companies, the culture was different. How could we unify it? So the only suggestion we gave them as, look at your 3 group companies as 3 different divisions within the same company. Do this exercise. And if we find in one particular company, the results are different, which we found because one company was some 40 years old, the second company was 35 years old, and the third company was just 3 years old.
Okay.
Right. So then, and the big other challenge that we have is there are 4 generations of people working, right, in an organization. Baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, all behave differently. Right. So that these are challenges that will be there. And if it's a company, we are working with a company from Kerala now, which is a 100-year-old company, 100 years. Okay. And we are just in negotiations. We haven't done the assessment with them, but they have a huge challenge. But when I went and visited them in their town, Namrata came with me, we were surprised how progressive they are, because we went with a mindset, 100-year company, their legacy problem and things like that. But they are far progressive because we live in Bombay, Delhi, right? So we've got our, we target all the metros. But when we went to Calicut and when we came back, we were like, wow, because what they did was, before we presented to them, they presented to us. Okay. They spent 1 hour, 90 minutes presenting to us, and they knew exactly what they wanted, what's the outcome that they wanted. And that's something that we do with you as well, right? Before we get into the process, we will also spend time with the CEO or the HR person to understand what is the outcome that you're looking for also.
Yeah.
So that then if there is anything that we need to tailor make, not terms in assessment, but at least in terms of the process after that, we can plan accordingly.
And Arish, just to add on to what Raj is saying from a manufacturing setup perspective, no, I think where it is understanding, how to, bring in more, more cohesion in what you're doing. I think there's a lot of unlearning that's required, because what happens is that when we are looking at running an organization that is predominantly manufacturing based, there are certain lenses through which we have been looking at things all these years, right? Where, if you look at that circle that we were talking about, which is 50% genetic and 10% environment and 40%, thoughts and feelings, I think all of us are guilty of still playing in that 10%, right? Where we see that, are we giving a safe environment to our employees? Are we giving bonuses? Are we giving overtime? Are we competitively paying them in comparison to the others? But I think the 40%, which is, are we connecting with them? Are we, trying to, look into what are the tiny pinches that are really pinching them. So in our experience of working with the tea plantation that Raj was talking about in Colombo, it was something as basic as they not having the facility to take a shower that was really hurting them a lot. So, whether it is, the pinch theory, which we all talk about, is industry agnostic. Nobody leaves an organization or nobody lacks in productivity because of this one large issue that's happening. It's a combination of these small pinches that happen every day. So what we essentially try to do is discover those pinches, discover what is that little thing that's itching a person so much that they want to leave, or they want to, don't want to perform. So, irrespective of if it being, blue collared or brown collared or white collared, I think the theory over here is, let's not focus on that 10% environment which everyone focuses on. Let us unlearn the way we look at managing our people. And can we focus on that 40%? Can we teach people how to be happier with everything remaining the same, without really changing what happens? And that is something that we wanted to base our business on also, because every consultant worth their salt will come and tell you what changes you need to make in your organization. But what we felt is that there is so much that can change just through perspective building, right? Because at the cost of sounding like an Instagram quote, the reality is happiness is inside out, it's not outside in. You can keep giving your workers your life, but they will still be unhappy if you do not empower them to take charge of their happiness and be happy. And that is essentially a space that we want to work in. So today, if assessment seems, doesn't seem like the best first step, whether it is multiple workshops or talks, or, synthesizing them to what happiness can essentially do to them in their work life, that is also a start point for us. Because the idea is, we want to empower people to take charge of their happiness, so that their happiness does not depend upon, did I get a 5% increment against a 7% increment? And while I completely understand that at a particular socioeconomic background, I think paying the bills is the first priority and the first thing that everyone thinks of. But the reality also, adults, are you're nodding, profoundly. The reality also is that inside every body, there's a heart, the head that is thinking about paying the bills, but there's a heart that wants, warm hug and a pat on the shoulder. And while this might seem fluff, but there is a lot of power in trying and creating, happiness in employees, which then has an effect across. There was a question that Namita asked about how do you manage stress and happiness, right? And that is what we are trying to tell you, that it's not this large beast that you can't manage. Stress. Yes.
Yeah, Namrata, one point I liked it in the whole conversation. See, all these, my years of experience all goes. Normally it happens that when you do these kind of happiness survey, the outcomes are basically stating that your people are not happy. The employer has to take up a lot of initiatives and to make them happy. But in the beginning, when I heard Raj saying that it is not that what employer does for these people, it is the people who also to have that gratitude to say that, yes, these are the things which makes me happy, and I should make myself be happy also.
And you will be surprised, people say that, and that is where it comes from introspection. How much do you value your job? Suddenly, people, and I'll give you another example. I like telling stories because lots of stories we've collected interacting with many clients. And this happened actually, one of the people who used to work with me at Viacom, a very senior resource, one day walked into my office and said, I want to quit my job and I'm not happy. So I said, hello, because I knew the background and I knew everything, right? So I said, first of all, we can't afford to hire you, so don't even look at it that way. You want a recommendation or something, I'll give it. But more importantly, I asked her one question. Would you be happier if you didn't have a job? The person, suddenly everything changed. The person left my room walking 6 inches taller because, it's all about perspective. It's all about setting context. And one of the things we've seen, and that's how our questions are all, the way the questions have been done, designed, everything, we have found people actually coming and expressing gratitude. One of the companies which we work right now, post the pandemic, people were like praising the company, saying the company took care of us during pandemic. We felt, there was somebody we could relate to. And there were other issues, but you suddenly realize that people also, if you give them an opportunity to express gratitude, they express gratitude. We assume that they will only complain, they will not express gratitude. That is wrong. And you will see this when people write, because everybody at the end of the day, and this manufacturing unit, I think Aris had asked this question. The owner of the company told me, the HR comes and tells me all the time, we shouldn't do this. He said, but the fact remains that the laborers are the only people who stayed with me consistent throughout. They may have their problems, they may have union, everything, but they are the only people who stayed with me from day one till now. Everybody else has come and gone after a few years of service. That was also an insight, right? And they had a very small problem. They had started giving milk to an X amount of employees when they were small. Suddenly the company grew X-fold, and they decided they can't continue to give milk to everybody, a glass of milk or whatever it was. But that became an issue, because also when you set policies, you need to think about scalability. What will happen in the future? They didn't think about that. So then he said, now what do we do? This is becoming a problem. But the fact is, they said, pehle to dete the, abhi aapne rok diya, right? So he did one thing. This was not my suggestion. He did it on his own, but he was telling me his story. He called everybody and said, कल से मैं चाय बंद कर दूंगा, सबको मैं दूध दे दूंगा, आप फैसला करो दोनों में से कौन सा चाहिए. And it changed. It's a question of how we handle the situation. I may not remember the exact story he told me, but these were some of the small things which he did it on his own. It was his own initiative. He said, this was a problem I was facing and this is the solution I found, and I was able to address the problem.
Aris, I hope we answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ajay Singh Ji, Yogam Shah, I'm trying to see all the names here. Subhashri, Robin Mukherjee, Dhanashri, Subhamoy, Pika Pant. We have an Akshay Kumar also amidst us.
He is our star performer.
Any questions for us?
I think we'll have to educate a lot of people in this.
Yeah.
We will have to educate ourselves as well.
Yeah. And we are very happy. We are double vaccinated and we are adventurous. So we are willing to come and meet you personally as well.
Well, we have vaccinated everybody in SEEP, so I don't think you should have a worry there.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, a lot to think about, but very interesting session.
Thank you so much.
I have text my question with Shubhamai here. It's just a simple question. I don't know if I'm right. Is it possible to create a fearless ambience in a business organization so that happiness index increases?
You have to create a fearless organization. That's the only way happiness will increase, because, in fact, we say freedom to be happy. You need to give people the voice to speak up. And you need to create a culture for people to speak up where they don't have the fear that they'll be reprimanded. And the first thing about this is, because it is anonymous, people feel that much more safe. But over a period of time, what you want to actually do is people should come. I used to keep telling people, I say, listen, I'm not a mind reader, right? So unless you come and talk to me, how will I know what problem you have? And even if you tell me a problem, I may not have a solution. I may be the CEO of the company. Doesn't mean I have a solution to all the problems. But come and talk to me. If you talk to me, at least I'm aware. And if I can solve it, I'll solve it. If I can't solve it, I will tell you I can't solve it. But at least you know where you stand. And half the time when people come and talk to you, they feel light. And sometimes you may be able to find a solution. But to create that culture where people are fearless to come and speak is something that is a gradual process. In some companies it exists, some companies it doesn't. It all depends on how big the company is and how things have evolved over a period of time. But you need to create that culture. And you have to, in a large organization, the one way of starting it is to do things like this. And when they see the management has taken our feedback, we've got feedback, they've acted on some of these things, because again, it's a question of communication. What do you do after the assessment? You do the assessment, you say, okay, these are the issues. Then you communicate back and say, we don't communicate everything. You take 2 or 3 things and these are the 2-3 issues that have come up. We have a solution for this. We are thinking of a solution for this, or this is something that is not, we can't address it. I mean, to be honest with them. It has to be transparent, honest communication. The moment you do that, you do confidence building measure. That's when trust comes within each other. And once trust is built, everybody is happy. Because the trust deficit happens half the time, not because the employer is bad, not because the employee, because there's no communication.
Yeah.
When there's no communication, you start perceiving things. So the one way is you need to get to know what's in the minds of the people, what they are thinking, what they are feeling. And once you know that, you will be able to address it.
Basic difference between fear and being fearless is fear is an act of being scared. And fearless is obviously an act of being happy.
True. Very true. Very well said, Neville.
So any more questions? Otherwise, we can wrap up this session today. As it is, we had 1 hour and we've gone beyond that. Means it was interesting.
But I must thank all of you for taking the time and coming and listening to us and giving us this opportunity to address each one of you. And anybody else has, I can see more faces now. I can see Ms. Divekar, I think there. Yeah. So I can see more faces. At least can we all see your faces before you go? Can you all put on your
contact details?
Yes, we will. I got your number. I will definitely connect with you.
Yeah.
Mr. Ramakrishnan.
Can we have more cameras on? At least we can see some faces. Yeah.
In fact, next time you should make a rule: no camera, no participating.
Absolutely, that is my rule, which I follow for sure.
Yeah. No, very nice. But we don't mind.
Connected, I think.
Pardon?
Now he feels connected. Yeah.
We feel connected now.
Yeah, because
previously it was all blank. मालूम ही नहीं कौन है उधर.
नहीं हमको first of all I'm bad on Zoom. Like Neville said, I'll have to get used to it. I don't have a choice. But I cannot also speak if I can't see people. It becomes very difficult to communicate when you can't see people.
Yeah, it's so nice to see all the faces and everybody participating.
Yes.
This is how Dhanashri Divekar looks actually.
Yes.
My favorite is the one with the conference room actually.
Yeah. Mr. Darshil Shah is there, Johar is there, Robin, I can see Sunil Kharade. So good. I mean, Yugam Shah, Abhay Joshi, Ajay Singh. Anybody has any more questions? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up for today. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. So once again, thank you very much and wish you a happy year ahead and hopefully happy new year soon.
So Raj, I would just like to wrap the session by giving a vote of thanks first to GJEPC, with their help and support and the GJEPC team. I think this event was possible today. And obviously the House of Cheer team and Happiness.me team for putting up this presentation and, educating all of us of what happiness actually means and can do for an organization. And, for me, it's a winner when somebody like your stature steps down from a multinational company and even Namrata give up their jobs and, start a company on your own to educate more people of your experience and, your talent and share your experiences is just a winner for me already. So it's like a no-brainer. It's a sold idea to me. And we truly believe in whatever we saw and whatever we heard from you guys. And I would request that, all the participants here can reach out to Happiness.me through GJEPC, through Animesh or Rashmi ji. And you can get their contact details and take it up from there. And I think it was a wonderful session today. Thank you very much. And thank you everybody for participating so patiently. And hopefully we'll have some more events like this in the future, which we always strive to do in being a part of the GJEPC committee. To get the best to the industry, all the best practices. Yeah. And happy holidays, guys.
Neville, this is Bobby here.
Yeah,
Just
Bobby.
a quick thing. I would suggest that we should have one more session on the diamond side of things as well. So today we've pretty much focused on feeds. There's actually several people that one can reach out. The concept is extremely nice, quite heartwarming. And whether it's the MIDC jewelry companies. So sorry guys, we may need, I request you to have maybe one, if not more session. I think it's important to reach out to a different section of audience within the trade.
Sure.
And it'll be quite interesting.
Sure, Bobby.
And,
I think, Rashmi ji, can you please make a note of this and have one more session for the diamond office side, like maybe VDB?
Diamond and or Rashmi, we'll connect. So basically,
Yeah.
the MIDC, there's a different group there. There's a team called the Elite 100, and then so there's members of that can join the diamond companies. Since the GJPC is fairly connected with various different sections of the trade, it may not be a bad idea to also look at a couple of large retailers who may be interested to attend the session.
We would be very happy. We would be very happy to conduct it.
Yeah. So maybe the retail session we can, because some of these organizations, I don't know whether we can balance their time accordingly, because we have the likes of Tanish, Malabar, Kalyan. There's so many large organizations on this side of the trade. So Rashmi, we'll be in touch. We'll see how we can put things together. The trade for sure we can do. The retail, I think we'll take a little more effort to get at least a couple of them together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, Neville, thank you so much for those lovely words. And Rashmi, you've been extremely helpful in helping us put this together. And again, once again, thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Raj.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.